I want to thank each of our members for their participation in the budget process and staff that has set forth to get us to where we are thus far. We should all be conscious of financial situation and our fiduciary responsibility in moving this agency forward in the best financial sense as possible. I now want to turn the floor to Ms. Ragland as we call this meeting to order at 11:06. Thank you. Ms. Ragland.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Chatham Area Transit Board. Good morning to our staff, employees, and members of our community. During the last 4 weeks, we've been in preparation of presenting this first draft of CAT's fiscal budget for 2022. It's been a very interesting journey, to say the least, and we've made some hard decisions. I'd like to thank members of the core budget team, to include Jeray Williams of Ray Michelle Group, Gloria Royal, who is our finance director, Janice Ambrose, our finance manager, and Beverly Dumas, our board administrator, for living and actually breathing this document. I'd also like to thank Director Halloran for joining us during those meetings and sharing his experience and some history and also advice throughout the process. I think it's important to mention at this time that when we began the process, we were facing a $1.8 million deficit. We met with department leaders and received their wish lists, and also asked them to make some tough sacrifices by reducing their departmental budgets by 20% or more if possible. Keep in mind that the numbers that are being presented today are fluid and will definitely change as they're updated and include information that is currently unavailable to us. And with that being said, we would like to now present to you the first draft of the fiscal year 2020 proposed budget. Next slide. The first slide just shows the schedule of the calendar for the budget. As stated today, our first meeting is today on the 6th of April, and we'll come back again with hopefully with the final budget on the 7th of the second budget. I'm sorry, on the 7th of May. Then we'll go through our public information sessions. We'll have our first and second readings, and then hopefully approved budget by the board. When we began looking through the budget, we had some specific objectives in mind. We wanted to optimize internal operations in hopes of providing long-term sustainability and to build our reserves. It's something that we've been working toward for the last couple of years, and we definitely want to keep moving in that direction. And these are some budget assumptions. With our revenues, you'll see that we are not anticipating a millage increase. So it will remain at 1.15, and that's the figure that we used in calculating the budget. We don't know what the digest growth or if there is going to be any growth, so that's to be determined. Our operating budget increased by 9%. And it's interesting to note that without CRISA funding, we would definitely be in a negative deficit right now. Our operating expenditures increased by 8.3%. Wages went up 3% only for contract employees. Administrative employees will not receive a merit increase this year. And travel-related expenses have been eliminated for 2022. These are inflation factors, and I know that the 42.2% for contract services and professional fees definitely sticks out like a sore thumb, but those are mainly, that was mainly due to contracted services for safety and security that we have to provide. at ITC and also at CAT Central. We also looking at completing our comprehensive transit development plan with a service level of 254,820 hours. We thought it might be good for you to just have an idea of what past receipts have been for our taxes. You'll see that last year, there was $12,474,062, and we were projected to get the same this year based on information from a county official that we will probably remain the same. And the chart below it shows just a history of the millage increases that we've received over the years. You see, it's been a long time since we received more than 1.15. The last time was in 1993, 1.2, and then 1991-92 year, we received 1.3. But since then, it's been decreased, and then for the last 3 years at 1.15. We thought you'd be interested in knowing exactly what type of federal funding we've been receiving, grant funding. So this chart shows from the beginning with the CARES Act that we received in 2021, over $10 million. Then with the CRISA funds in 2020 that we received in 2020 for disbursement in 21 and 22, $5.8 million. And then most recently with the American Rescue Plan Act that was signed last month by President Biden, we are anticipating over a period of 4 years, $12.6 million. Right now, our operating budget is looking at right at $30 million. It's an increase of 9%. Our expenditures right now, we're showing an increase of 8.3%. And surprisingly, we are currently looking at not a deficit, but a surplus of $128,643. But please keep in mind that this does not reflect the cost of the additional insurance coverages that will be coming in. We do not have those figures yet for the electric charging stations, also for the electric vehicles and medical premiums. We have not received those yet, so we don't know what they will be. So currently we're looking really good. We don't know how it's going to look once we receive those numbers and have them placed in the budget. This chart shows just what type of revenue is coming from services. As you can see, most of the money that we are receiving is coming from the special district transit tax. We have not been receiving any much in our fixed route fares, as you can see, 3.8%. Paratransit has been pretty level at 17%. City services are down at 5.62, and other services as well. So it just gives you an idea of what the revenue is looking like for 2022. And this gives us a better understanding of just where those expenditures are coming from. As you can see, of course, the biggest expenditure is wages and benefits at over 19 million. And here is, we just want to show that based on the adopted budget of 2021, we have eliminated, if you will, or downsized to 310 versus 316 total employees. And mainly being because the transportation department had not utilized those that were authorized for them. And so if they hadn't used them in the last 2 years, we took those out of the equation. So that brought us down to a total of 310 employees. We are looking to add an IT support analyst and 2 part-time dispatchers for the paratransit enterprise. The scale on the right side, lower side of the screen shows, based on the number of employees for fiscal year 2021, see there was a little heavier than those of 2022, and hopefully we can balance that. Now, the capital revenue are over 10 million. Expenditures are at 6.2, which leaves a balance of 3.9 million for capital funding. And this is a list of those capital requests going into 2022. Several things have been requested. This is what we consider our wish list. The ones on the bottom are things that are being carried forward from the 2021 fiscal year that are already in progress, but the ones on top are those that have been requested. So that's part of our wish list. And I just wanted to add this TAM chart to show that, because I believe someone asked at one point why we were receiving 33 paratransit vehicles at one time. But if you, according to this TAM chart that we have to have on file with FTA, we are at 87% for the 2021 budget. And for 2022, we should be right at 100% replacement. So we are receiving 32 new vehicles, right in line with our TAM plan. And these are just some recommendations that I would like to bring before the board. We can discuss at a later date. It's very important that we contribute to the Georgia Fund 1 reserve policy. We have already started working on a policy for that to bring it to the board so that we continue on the course to add to those reserves. We are receiving these electric buses, and we are currently working on an implementation plan for the electric buses. We are in dire need of an employee handbook through HR. That is another implementation that I would like to see, as well as a board handbook to benefit the board. We are also working on the procurement policy. We know that we had some issues with it in the past, and we are working to shore that up, make sure that it's protecting the agency at all costs. Now we are moving forward. Like I said, these are all fluid numbers. We don't know what's going to happen once we receive the final numbers, but we will have that information available in our next budget workshop, which will be on the 7th of May at 11 o'clock. Now I'll address any questions if you have them.
Valerie?
Yes, ma'am.
It's Helen. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know we talked about this last week,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm interested, and I don't know, I think the question was brought up whether it's legally all right, to see with some of these positions where it's prudent to look at contracted services over employees that, would cost benefits and salaries and that kind of thing. So I don't know where that stands, but
Yes,
I'm still interested in trying to do the prudent thing there if it's possible.
Yes, ma'am. And particularly in reference to the IT analyst, I did contact a couple of agencies, and they stressed to me that it's going to be very difficult to actually try to hire an IT analyst. They seem to be in short supply now, but what we were proposing to offer as a salary is right in line with the industry standard. Even if we contracted with an IT service, like we are with Infinity now, and they provided someone particularly to attend to those things that CAT needed, it was still in line with what we are offering as a full-time salary.
Well, I understand the salary. I'm just more concerned when we talk about the increase in what employees' benefits have cost. I just want to do the right thing there.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, a salary is one thing, but everything that goes with the salary is another thing.
That's true. And I'm glad you said that, because I'm also looking at a classification and compensation study. So that's another thing that we are actually looking into at this point.
Okay, good. That sounds great. I just want to bring that up one more time.
Yes, ma'am.
Got Dr. Robertson.
Yeah, I have a question about the our current state, and you said we're looking good right now, but the things have not come in yet. Now, have those things been budgeted at a certain level? And even at the budgeted level, will it still exceed? Will it put us in a negative balance?
Yes, ma'am. The insurance in particular for the electric buses and the charging station, we did have a certain percentage already proposed for that. As well, I think we had budgeted 8% for healthcare, but we have not received those final figures yet. So we don't know what they might be. But we did have a place mark, if you will, a guesstimate. But I believe we already know that the insurance is going to be higher. It's already surpassed that. We had 15% and it's already surpassed that. So, and we know, or we don't know, but we expect the insurance to be higher as well.
But the positive balance that we're currently in reflects what we've already budgeted for. What we don't know is what might happen if things go up.
And they will.
Right, but my question was more about,
yes, ma'am,
our current state reflects what was budgeted in 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then my other question had to do with the fiscal year 2021. On each one of the charts that we received, it said adopted on the budget you sent us, on the sample budget you sent us. It said adopted.
2021 was, yes, 2021 was adopted by the board. That's what we're operating in currently.
Right,
and
right.
We're preparing for 2022.
Right, I understand that part. But what my question is, the figures that we see under that particular category are actual revenues that came in, actual expenditures that went out.
Yes, ma'am. It should be actual numbers.
Okay.
You have any more questions? I got Dale.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Val, we went from a deficit a couple of weeks ago to where we are today. How'd you get there?
Well,
and what was that deficit?
The deficit was a little bit over 400,000. And based on what the county—
But it started at 400,000?
No, ma'am, it started at 1.8 million.
Okay, so you went from 1.8 million in the deficit.
Yes, ma'am.
To 400,000 deficit.
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
can you tell us how you got to 1.8 million and then how you got down to 400 and how you got to where you are today?
Okay. I might call on the finance, the core team to go into the specifics of that. I don't have that information right in front of me, but Ms. Royal or Ms. Williams might.
Well, I think it's important that we don't think we started out where we are right now.
Oh, no.
That's not where we started. We started at 1.8 million in a deficit a month ago.
Yes, ma'am.
So a month ago, how'd we get there?
How do we start at the 1.8 million?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Williams, are you able to address that?
Yes, I can address it.
Mhm.
So I want to clarify one thing with Director Robinson's question on the FY21 adopted. That is actually the budget numbers, not the actual. So every month you do get a year-to-date actual report during the normal budget the budget meetings, or I'm sorry, not budget, board meetings. So what you see in the budget document is not actual, it's just what is budgeted. We did not provide the actual because we only have 3 quarters worth of information and we're waiting to finish out the last quarter before we can give you the actuals.
And my reason for asking was that exact reason, because I want to be clear that that some of this money has come down. What either received more or we paid out some more, and these were not actual. These were still the adopted amounts.
Correct. That is the adopted amount. And so to answer Director Odell's question, so on the revenue side, we were a $1.8 million in deficit, but as we started to get more information regarding specific revenue sources, we were adjusting those numbers. And so, for instance, the Carissa grant, we had started out with a lower number because we weren't sure if we were going to amend the grant application. But after the last board meeting, it was determined that we should move forward with the amended grant application so we could take advantage of some of the funds this fiscal year, and then the rest would be taken care of for the rest of 22. So we're actually maximizing the grant, the total grant, by amending the application and getting 3 months worth of the grant this year and then a full 12 months for next fiscal year, which helped reduce the deficit even more. The deficit was 1.8 because we had added a lower Carissa grant amount, but now that we have it at the right level, which was additional $300,000, that helped reduce the deficit from the start. Then when we talked with the county regarding the special district tax, they told us to keep it flat and not to expect more than what we received from this fiscal year. And that total was $474,000. So the deficit that was decreased down to $407,000, if you just kind of back that off, in addition to some edits with some of the other revenue sources, that's what brought us to the $128,000 in the positive. However, we know that figure is not going to hold because, as Ms. Ragland already mentioned, we still don't have the medical insurance premiums, and we know there's going to be an increase there because of the losses, the risk loss ratio, the underwriting that has been done for the employee health benefit plan. The expectation is it's going to exceed the 8.3% that we had already budgeted in the adopted budget. So we're expecting a higher number for that. And then also on the commercial insurance side, we are still waiting for quotes or the premium, the concrete premium numbers for the additional coverages for the charging stations and the mobile generator, which was not included in our first draft.
Okay, and part of that 1.8 was executive salaries, correct? Which
it was a combination of everything. Yeah, but wages obviously and benefits are the bulk of, CAT's budget. So yes.
Because the executive salaries had gone up from 7 something to 1.2, right?
In this fiscal year, I believe that is the case, but Gloria can chime in on that one.
Okay, and then in addition to the salaries going up, we also took into consideration the Carissa grant and the CARES money. The Carissa grant, is that a yearly grant that we're going to get every year?
No, that's a one-time. That's a one-time grant.
and the CARES money is a one-time.
Correct.
Unless it's approved again.
Correct.
So we really can't count this money as being an actual revenue stream, an ongoing revenue stream.
It's not an operating revenue stream. So there's a difference where you want to delineate what's revenue from operations versus revenue from external sources. So grant revenue would be considered the latter because it's not
Right.
produced from the organization operating.
But it's a one-time, so we may not get it again.
Correct. The next grant potential that we might get is the American Rescue Plan Act that was just approved last month, as Ms. Ragland mentioned. And we don't have all the details on that. We're not sure. We have not validated what it could be spent on, if it's COVID related or operational payroll. We don't have that information, but we're hoping to have that information by May 7th when we have our second workshop with the board.
Okay.
So real quick, hey y'all, Clinton here. Sorry to chime in a little bit late. I'm driving back home, so I can't be on video. But I have a question.
Sure.
And again, I apologize for being late, but just to recap, based on the last 5 minutes of what I've been hearing, CAT is financially in the black, as it seems. That's a question for our
I wouldn't say-
2021-2022 budget.
That's
I
not what,
I wouldn't say that, Director Edminster, because as Ms. Williams has already stated, we don't have the numbers yet on the increases in the insurance for the equipment and
Correct.
electric buses, as well as the insurance.
But we have been able to address the hurdle from where we were at our last budget update.
Yes, sir, largely in part to the funding, federal funding of those grants.
Very cool. Good job.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? All right, Ms. Ragland, do you have anything?
No, sir, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity, and as please do keep in mind that we are implementing these new policies or some new policies, and we will be bringing them before the board very soon.
All right, thank you.
Patrick, I have one that I
Yes,
forgot.
Mr. Chairman,
yes. I got it.
Valerie, when is Seacrest or Seacoast going to have us the medical? Usually that's like 30 days before the policy ends.
Yeah,
So that may not be until June.
we don't know. They said that they would get it to us as soon as possible, but we don't know when that might be.
And in the past, it's always been that 30-day buffer from the expiration so they can get the latest numbers, which probably will be June 1st, because that's
Probably.
usually when we had them in for their presentation.
presentation.
Yes, sir.
And it was good working with all of you. A lot of work was done to get where we are, and we still have a lot of work to do. That's just next year. It just doesn't get better for the years after.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. You said that the county is asking you all to consider a flat digest growth.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't want to speak out of turn, but judging by the new construction and home sales, I think you should budget flat, but I have a suspicion that it's not going to be at all flat.
That would be great.
I know, but but again, err on the side of caution as you
Yeah.
are. But it would seem to me when I drive around town that the digest should come in certainly not flat.
Yeah, but Helen, you gotta
Yes,
remember,
ma'am.
you gotta make sure they don't, that's dependent upon them not rolling back the millage.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard any discussion of rolling back the millage at this point.
No, but you know those, we got 2 commissioners who bring it up every year.
I know, I'm just saying that, I'm hoping that there will be some digest growth. That's all.
And if I may, Ms. Ragland, it wasn't the digest growth that they asked us to keep flat. They asked us to keep the collection flat. So there's a difference between the growth and the collection of taxes.
Oh, yes,
Thank-
that makes a difference.
Thank you.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Here, but I think she's in a meeting. So let me see if she's able to call you back, but she may have to call you back.
Mm. Was someone trying to make a comment? I could barely hear them.
Sounded like Gloria.
I believe that was just someone background noise.
Oh, okay.
Any more questions? I wanted to ask a question on our expenditures for this fiscal year. What were the numbers on that? How did that affect? Did that play a part in our budget? Did I hear? On our expenditures for the year, did that play a factor in our deficit?
Initially, yes, sir. Initially, yes.
So our expenditures were, how did that compare to our previous expenditures in business this year compared to the previous years as far as what we spent going out and our expenditures and everything like that?
I can answer that if you want, Mr. Eklund.
Sure.
So Chairman Cody, the expenditures naturally, they grow sometimes at an inflationary rate year over year. So if you're comparing it to this fiscal year, obviously there's a 9% increase. I'm sorry, not a 9, 8% increase over last year. But if you were to look historically at what we provided to the board from 2018 until 2021, there's between a 3 to 5% growth rate of the expenditures year over year. So I think that answers your question, but if not, just let me know.
Yes, that'll be fine.
So, what you're saying is this is maybe 4 to 5% more in expenses above average, given the last number of years?
Correct.
Okay. What would you attribute that to?
Wages and benefits.
Got it.
I'm sorry, what did you say it was attributed to?
Wages and benefits.
And we went from
You-
3% to 9%.
Specific from maybe like executive or is that like, how does that break down? Can you be more specific?
I don't have the breakout in front of me, but I can maybe provide that. Or actually, I do have it. So I can tell you for executive, it's 7% over this fiscal year. Mobility is 17%. Maintenance is 10%. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? That's the entire expense budget. I would have to get you something separate, Director Edminster, on just wages and benefits, because that's their complete budget for their department, not just wages and benefits. So I'll break that out for you and send that to Ms. Ragland so she can distribute to the board.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Williams, did you say we went from an average of 3% to 9%?
No, so what I'm saying is that if you look at the entire operating budget year over year, it ranges from 3 to 5%. CAT has been pretty, I guess in the past, 3 to 5% has been kind of the range. There are some years where in the past it was a lot higher, but there was some anomaly factors in there, like construction or something along that line. I can't remember exactly what it was, that it was significantly higher. But if you look at 2018 to 2020 or 2021, you'll see between that 3 and 5% variation between each year. And as I can break it out by the wages and benefits for the board, but that's pretty much been the range year over year.
But this year it was higher.
Right, but yeah. Well,
And it
I
was-
can't tell you
it was-
specifically for wages and benefits, but overall, yes, it was 8% for this year.
It was 8% this year.
Yes.
Jerry,
But I
is
can-
that 8%? Is that 8% above 2020's budget or 2020's actuals?
It's over 2021's adopted budget.
I got it.
Got it.
Director Adams had his hand up.
Yes, sir. Does Ms. Williams know the percentages of the insurance rate increase through the years?
That's
Yes, I can
scary.
break
It's
that out.
bad news.
Not off the top of my head, but I can break that out for you and have that sent. So you want to see insurance, wages, benefits, and anything else?
Yes.
Okay, I will send that detail and I'll try to go back as far as I can. I do have some historicals since 2009. I don't know if that's too far back, but I can provide that.
Thank you.
Got it. Director Robertson.
I just want to know how we looking at these contract services. You know, when I look at the list by departments, I was just wondering, like, we still carrying Doug Eady as a contract services? I'm looking at just some other things. Are there any of those that we can actually eliminate that we no longer need, or would this decrease any in the next fiscal year?
Some of those are inactive, but they were current during this current fiscal year. And so some of them were just carried over because we were thinking that we might potentially need them, but some of them can be looked at. Some of them we can eliminate. Like Doug Eady, for instance.
Right. Do we have any more questions? All right, the floor is now open to any recommendation that you would like staff to take in consideration while moving through this budget process. Do we have any recommendation that that anybody has for us to go through our budget process? I got Dr. Robertson.
I think mine was kind of a recommendation when I look at these contract services, that we do take a deep dive into those services and determine if these things can be eliminated or reduced in some way. That would have been one of my recommendations.
All right. We have any more recommendations?
Mine's more of a comment. Jerry or Valerie, if you want to contact the insurance agency, they can probably give you the chart of the changes over the last 5 years. They do that we do it at every board meeting in June, and they come in and give us the year-over-year changes. So that would be taken out of all the other numbers.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, we have anybody else? All right, we want to move on to new business, old business, new business. As we move forward in our recruitment needs for CAT's executive director, I have considered the appointment for the members that I would like to request to serve on the search committee. We are going to lead out with Dr. Holleran will take lead on it. I got Dr. Robertson, and I got Director Stone, and I will be assisting as the board chair. In addition, I would like to work with the staff on establishing a subcommittee that will work as an extension and advisory to this committee that will be made of a few employees across the agency's departments. I will have more information regarding the subcommittee at a later time. Beverly will be in touch with each and every one of you to make arrangements for our next steps going forward. But this will take effect immediately. We are now engaged in search. With that being said, do we have any questions?
Chairman, this is Clinton.
Yes, Director Emerson.
Can I request to join the search committee?
We full. Let's 'cause I think we can only have 4. Am I right about that?
Well, I think you can do whatever you want.
All right. We would I would get with Beverly on it, and we include you in that process, Director Emerson.
Chairman Cody, I have one question. You said we're currently actively involved. Does that mean we've hired a firm of some kind? What does that mean that we're already actively involved?
We're gonna let you all, including Dr. O'Halloran, yourself, and Director Stone and Director Emerson. We haven't started yet, no, to answer your question. We are gonna let the ad hoc committee get together and make some recommendations towards our next move. All right?
Will Director O'Halloran be scheduling those?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Cody.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cody, while we're on the subject of the CEO, I looked at the website today and I saw Ms. Malden's name is still on there as the CEO. Do we need to change that, or do we leave that while litigation is ongoing?
No, I believe we can, I would talk to our legal advisors and find out a definite on that, but I'm sure, in my opinion, I believe we can move forward now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Wait, do we have any more questions? All right, with that being said, we're gonna adjourn this.
813-528-6130. Please leave your name, number, and a brief message.
Thanks for the background.
Thank you very much.
How about hear you?
I'm sorry, I just muted everyone. Chairman, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we're at adjournment.
Mm-hmm. We have adjourned the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we waiting on something?
The meeting has adjourned.